Hey guys, what's going on? So, one of the biggest things that a lot of players struggle with is actually identifying how to improve and working out, a plan or, actions to do to see that improvement. So, one of the things that I think pretty much every single player can get value out of, regardless of whether you are um, 1.2K or 2.8K, the huge range of potential rating you could be, is playing with uh, OBS, any type of OBS. So, what is an OBS? It's essentially recording software. Like you're seeing right now, I'm not actually playing these games while I'm talking. Um, what it can allow you to do is it can help you work out where mistakes are made. And honestly, considering how much stuff is going on in an arena game, it's really hard to work out, what went wrong in each game. It can be something as simple as, hey, you guys hit the wrong target, or, you were fundamentally playing your class wrong. You might be, using your CDs at the wrong time. You might be CCing badly, all this kind of stuff. So, really important to understand, look, I need to review my games and I need to watch out for certain things. And this is what brings me to, I guess, the topic of this video, which is what do you actually watch out for in your recordings? Because a lot of the times, you'll record a whole bunch of games and you'll be looking through them and they won't really give you too much help. So, one of the easiest ways to avoid this is to understand how you can lose a game and how you can win a game. So, generally, um, at medium ratings, 1800, whatever, you will win games because you're able to execute one of your win conditions. If you're playing a melee cleave, that might be one-shotting a target. That's a win condition. It's not the best win condition. It's not something you want to rely on, but it's a win condition as it is. Um, or it could be, grinding out a team so they've got no defensive cooldowns and you have your offensive cooldowns rotating faster. Or ooming them. Same thing with a caster. As casters, it's like, lining up a good CC chain with cross CC that enables you to actually, land a kill on something, right? And it's kind of hard to necessarily work out what these CC chains and win conditions are if you're starting out. I completely understand that, but it's definitely critical for you to improve. It's going to be very difficult for you to see any major gains in improvement without actually working out, hey, why are we losing and what are we doing right in games we win? What are we doing wrong in games we lose? So, um, I think the basis for this is, yeah, identifying the win condition is number one. Like, how do you guys actually win? And to learn what your different win conditions are, it's generally going to be looking at VODs of high rated players playing the same comp and seeing how they win the game, who they hit against each comp. You can obviously derive it yourself if you're just kind of playing and feeling out, okay, this works better. We can always CC these guys, etc., etc. And then from there, what is going wrong that forces you not to win? So if you're playing melee cleave and you're like, we are going to, do the second go with grip, stun, whatever, they shouldn't have any cooldowns up, right? So you go, cool, we're going to follow that strategy. And if you do a grip stun go with spear and it gets literally 2 cooldowns, both irrelevant, no trinkets, then you know that the second time, well, they're just always going to have a trinket for your go. And then you're going to need 3 goes minimum to go kill something. So really important to see that. You have to go and watch your games and see, okay, I just noticed that they've trinketed nothing because we're not actually setting up properly. He's using the grip too early, and then I'm stunning before, the sleet happens, before there is damage out from the DK, or you're popping Colossal Smash too early in the game, and then you don't have it for the go. So working out in a macro sense, hey, this is a big issue. We usually, making this big mistake in our gameplay and then comparing it to other games played by professional players in the AWC, played in on stream at 2700, whatever, you're going to get a pretty decent idea of what you need to actually start to fix. Because without that, it's going to be impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's definitely possible, but it's super, super inefficient to climb rating and, you know, push considerably faster than you need to. Like you're just going to be slowed down if you're not recording it. And it's really, really useful if all of you guys record it and get your own gameplay, because there's an element of micro on this, right? So, when are you getting faked against a certain class really often? Are you stunning with DRs too much? You need to kind of go and watch your VODs, list out all the different mistakes you're making. And if you're a low rating, they're going to be a lot. If you're high rating, maybe there's a lot less. And then, isolate them, segment them, and say, look, I'm going to work on these 3 things, because you can't work on everything at once. It takes ages for you to, get a really, really good feel for how you should be playing. But what you can do is you can start to say, cool, on the micro level, I'm going to always make sure that, I'm not getting faked, or I'm reflecting, or I'm fearing when the mage uses combust or something, right? On a macro level, it can be, okay, when we're versing RMP, I'm going to make sure I use heroic throw, taunts to keep the rogue in combat, and we're going to swap the rogue every time I've got Stormbolt, stuff like that, right? You need to kind of get statements for yourself to say, hey, this is probably where I need to work on, because right now it's really, really hard for me to get anything going, and we're seeming to lose every game. So that's obviously the first sort of thing you need to begin to work on. Outside of that, what you need to do is to get your teammates on the same page with the level of improvement you're seeking. So this is why playing an LFG is considerably harder, because when you're an LFG, you are just kind of stuck, because you can't necessarily improve as a trio. You're just going to be improving individually, which is always good, but the rate at which you see a rating climb is then sort of anchored to how good the teammates you're playing with are, as well as how well you're playing. So looking out for those types of things is definitely super important. You need to go, cool, if you can find a main team and all of you guys are willing to use, VODs, you're willing to go over your VODs at the end of each Q session. It doesn't need to be a long type of thing, but you need to say, hey, we're really always losing against X comp. We just can't beat it. So what are potential ways we can beat it? Okay, well, I watched, ZPie, or I watched Joe Fernandez do this type of strategy, and they seem to always do that and win. So how do we get to that point? What are the conditions we need to meet in each game to actually win those types of games? And that takes a bit of maturity as well, because you will have to kind of go and all share what mistakes that your team are making. And I guarantee you, if you are all at like 1900, that all of you guys will be making them. Maybe one person makes more mistakes than other people, but you can't like hold someone to that, because it's really, really, risky to do so. So I guess now that you kind of understand why it's so important to VOD, and I honestly think for most of you guys, like, it's easy clap 100, 200 CR if you're able to do that, maybe even more. In my own experience, I think I probably went up 300 CR as a player, just by recording my own gameplay, by breaking it down. Even just doing the commentaries for YouTube has improved my awareness and gameplay to another level. So, really, really good for you to nail that down early. And I guess this brings us to, potential software. How do you do it? So in the interest of this video, one of the sponsors for this video is Squadov, which is a new startup which has come out recently with a really, really easy way to go and record your gameplay. And I'll show you the UI here. To give you a bit of context, I previously was using Streamlabs, and what you do with Streamlabs is you just press record and you get like a 3-hour block, which is like 6 gigabytes worth of data on your computer, and then you got to like go and sort it all out and find out which games were important. It's super inefficient. There's also shadow play, but shadow play doesn't really link to the WoW UI, and you got to remember to shadow play it in that 5 minutes and make sure you capture it. And I think Squadov really lands on something. I would never like take a sponsorship if I think it's not useful for you guys. So I'm going to show you a bit of functionality with it. I highly recommend you try it out. At the moment, it's completely free. Um, there's a referral link in the bottom too, and it's probably the easiest way I've ever found to record your own gameplay. So I'm going to show you a bit more of the functionality here. So when Squadov is on, you can go and like essentially detects your gameplay. You just install like 2 add-ons and the client, super simple, and you can watch your games and share the clips here. So this is one that I've seen, which I think is really useful. You can exactly pull the exact game that you played, the rating, whether you lost or won, the comp, who you versed and who you were versing, the eye levels, all this stuff. Um, I think this is super cool because you get to see the death encounters as well, but it's just way more efficient than having to pull 3 hours of VODs. And then normally with VODs, you have to go and, you know, upload them onto YouTube as an unlisted doc. Super inefficient. It sucks. I don't like an unlisted video. I don't really enjoy it too much. And even when I do videos and I want to pull clips, pain in the ass. So this is a really cool functionality there. You can just link it up and it all works. And I like how it pulls your games as well. It's sort of like a mix of Reflex. I think probably what's the most useful is you can sort of see what has happened throughout a game. So you can sort of see what damage spikes. You can see, where from each player. So when the DH pops his big buttons, he's hitting like 7K with like the hunt and damage on everyone. And you can click exactly onto those points. You can also see the death as well. So the time that someone died and, enemy team's deaths as well. I think the big thing here is you can also see what spells people are using. So if you're like seeming to die randomly to something you don't understand, against something like this Ellie Shaman, right? This Ellie Shaman, he flame shocks, he primordial waves, he cap stuns, and then he fire elementals, does his go. But you can sort of see there's some mistakes. He probably could have used his buttons a bit better, but you can see all the different buffs he had on him. So he didn't use his primordial, he used his wall way too late before he died. He probably should have used it around here, probably should have used Earth Ellie instead of the Fire Ellie. And you can break down all the different parts of the game where you're kind of a bit confused on what your teammate was doing as well. So if you feel like your teammate's kind of dropping the ball or you're dropping the ball, you can pretty quickly identify it and exactly what time it happens. So highly recommend this one. It's free right now, which is absolutely insane because, this is stuff that I think people would normally pay for. And really happy to be working with Squadov. Check out the video. In the description of the video, you'll see a link that you can go and check out the referral code. I urge you to check it out, give some support to these guys, at least give some feedback because it's in its early days. So if you download it, it's not working, something's not working. Give some feedback to these guys. It's awesome to see tech and all this data and all this good stuff like Ludus Labs, Squad, seen I think the WoW Arena logs as well. Heaps of people are working in this space, and one of the things that we need to do as people who are getting benefit out of this, if we want to see more of this being created, is to go and support them, to try out the software at least, and give feedback when it's necessary. So guys, check it out. Hope you enjoyed this video and take it easy.